It wasn't the title for the step that I thought of, but it's much better than the one I came up with, so we're gonna go with that. All right.
Yeah.
Good morning, friends. How are you doing today on this lovely day? My name is Alex. I am a content creator and media designer, and every week on this channel I share life lessons with you that I have learned on my own self-development journey. If that sounds like something that interests you, then smash that subscribe button and hit the bell, because I drop a new video every week and you do not want to miss them. So, for today's topic, I figured we would talk about something that has plagued me for years, and that is overspending. I have been a serial overspender, as you could say, for pretty much my entire adult life. I'd have money and I would spend it on something useless that I didn't need. And I know that there's a lot of other people out there who struggle with the same issues. So I figured I'd share a little bit of insight that I've learned while I've kind of started getting my stuff together. Now, I do want to preface this with a disclaimer. I am not a licensed financial advisor, and none of this should be taken as financial advice. I'm still just learning what I'm doing, so please attempt this stuff at your own risk. This is just what I have learned has worked for me. And as with what I do when I learn things from other people, is take little things that you think work for you and then build your own strategy using them. Now that that's out of the way, let's get to it. So I think first off, we have to take a look at what really is overspending, right? So I would categorize overspending as spending money that you don't really have. And in that sense, I mean spending money on stupid, frivolous shit that isn't really tied into your monthly expenses or things you actually need to get through your life. And I'll give you guys some examples of how I've overspent later on in the video. So let's dive right on into the steps, shall we? So step number 1 is understand your budget. Now, everybody who talks about financial wellness is going to tell you that you need to build a budget, and I 100% agree with them. It's definitely important to have a budget, but I think it's more important to understand where your money is coming from and where your money is going, so that you can have an understanding of, okay, I've made this much money this month and I have to spend this much money this month on my expenses. Where does that leave me? Right? How much money do I have left over? And I think that's the point that we need to figure out. So let's say you're making $2,000 a month, and that's how much you make every month, give or take a few $100, but you can say with general certainty that you make about $2,000 a month on average. So now let's say your expenses over here are $1,500 a month. That would leave you with $500 a month. So that is your excess money, right? That is what you can overspend. So if you're left at the end of the month and you have $0, then you know that you've overspent, because that $500 should still be there. I'm hoping this is all making sense. So just to summarize all of this, you want to figure out how much money you are making, how much money you are spending, and how much money you have available left to you after all of that. All right, so tip number 2 is find your whale expense. And this is a term that I've kind of coined myself. I haven't really heard it anywhere else, but it's something that's kind of made sense to personify your expenses in my mind. So you want to find the one singular expense that is the greatest of all of your expenses that is non-essential. So don't count rent or phone bill or food or gas or anything like that. Those don't count towards these, because those are essential expenses. What you want to do is you want to find your number 1 biggest non-essential or whale expense. Personally, for me, my whale expense was eating out. I would order a lot of food, and to be honest, I still order more food than I should, but I'm slowly getting better at it. But essentially, ordering food was my whale expense. I was spending roughly around $400 a month on ordering out, getting food that I could just make at home. So that was my whale expense. And once you figure out what your whale expense is, you want to figure out how much on average you're spending a month. And with stuff like ordering out, it can vary wildly, right? So you want to find an average. How much are you spending on average? A good way to do this is take the last 3 months and figure out how much you spent on that over the past 3 months, then divide it by 3. There you have an average. So once you've figured out your whale expense, then we go on to step number 3, and that is to half it. It wasn't the title for the step that I thought of, but it's much better than the one I came up with, so we're gonna go with that. All right, so what I mean by halve it is you want to take at least 50% of your whale expense every month and save it or invest it. I personally would recommend investing it, but again, this is not financial advice. I'm just giving you my opinion. What I would do is I would put it in some kind of investment, whether it be an ETF or a index fund or some kind of like company. Like you can even invest it into your favorite company or your favorite crypto or something like that, right? Just find a way of making that money make you money. For instance, one thing that I did is I found out that I was spending $400 a month on average on eating out. So what I did is, in order not to completely shock myself into doing something crazy, because we all know how humans work, if you completely cut something off cold turkey that you love doing just because you think it might be not so good for you, you're gonna fall off it. It happens like 90% of the time with me. There are very few situations where I've been able to completely cold turkey cut something off. So this is why I say like start with 50%, because you don't want to fall so hard off it that you just end up binging back into it, right? Getting back to my example, what I did is I took $200 a month and I automatically set it to deposit into my crypto account. And then from there, I'll buy whatever coin I see is at a discount right now, or invest more money into a coin that I'm already believing in. And by doing that, I've saved quite a lot of money that would have been spent on eating bad food. And not only has it saved and made me a little bit of money through not eating out anymore, but on top of that, I've also kind of gamified it in a sense, because it's like now, rather than being interested in spending money on food and having it just literally disappear, I've shifted the excitement to investing my money into these projects, and it has almost made it exciting. Now, I will say with a word of caution here is if you are a serial overspender like I am, it can be kind of dicey because you can sometimes overinvest your money where you'll take all of your extra money and invest it, and I definitely would not recommend doing that because I've done this a couple times and I've left myself with no money, and situations come up as they always do, and then you're SOL, as they say. So please be careful with this strategy. It can be very helpful, but it can also be quite damaging if you overdo it, as with anything. So those are my 3 steps to help conquer overspending. We can just briefly go over them again. Number 1 is understand your budget. Know how much you're making, know how much you're spending, and know how much that you're left over with at the end of the month. Step number 2 is find your whale expense. Find that one non-essential expense that is costing you the most money on average every month, and figure out how much it's costing you on average again, like I said. Step 3 is have it. Take at least half of the money that you spend on your whale expense and save and invest it. Put it into a Wealthsimple account or Questrade or whatever brokerage it is that you use, or put it into your crypto wallet and buy some crypto coins that will be a long haul investment. Because if you put $200 a month into an ETF or something with, let's be conservative here and say your ETF has an annual return of about 6%. So if you put $200 a month, starting with absolutely zero, if you put $200 a month into an ETF or an index fund that had a 6% return over 30 years, you would be left with almost $200,000. It would be $195,850 to be exact. Like, that's insane. That's so much money that you can just grow out of thin air just by simply cutting a bad habit in half. Not even completely getting rid of it, just by cutting it in half. So that's a strategy that I've come up with, and so far I've saved about half a paycheck, and it's been pretty cool to see my money grow and expand rather than dwindle away and be left with nothing. So I really hope that you guys got something out of this video. Please drop a comment down below. Let me know some financial strategies you have to help get yourself out of stupid ruts that we get into as young people with money. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I appreciate you more than you could ever know. And if you would like to connect with me further, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Also, I stream on Twitch every Tuesday and Thursday and sometimes Sundays. If you would like to check that out, the link is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a wonderful week, and that is it for me. Thank you so much. Bye.